She never could have imagined that the husband she hated most would save her and die in a car crash right on their divorce day, on his deathbed, lying in a pool of blood. Her husband choked out, "If there's a next life, I hope I never cross paths with you again." Covered in blood, I was held tightly in Shu Ruining's arms. She was crying her eyes out. In that moment, she absolutely hated herself. She truly loved her husband. If it wasn't for her damn ego, they wouldn't have ended up getting a divorce. Things wouldn't have ended up like this. After I died, Shu Ruining spiraled into depression. A year later, she took a handful of sleeping pills in her room. Smiling, she closed her eyes. "Hubby, I'm coming to make things right." When she opened her eyes again, Shu Ruining found herself back in our bridal bedroom. She stared at herself in the mirror and couldn't help but touch her face. Her skin felt so real and soft. Her wrists were completely flawless, without a single scar. Her phone on the desk buzzed with a text. The screen lit up. Shu Ruining picked it up to check. The date displayed was actually May 11th. My heart skipped a beat. No way. This is impossible. Everything pointed to one crazy fact. Had been reborn. But what about him? Like a drowning person. Shu Ruining desperately grasped at straws. The thought of seeing me again, of finally getting a chance to fix things, brought tears to her eyes. Shu Ruining rushed out of the room in a panic. She completely dropped her usual bossy, Ice Queen CEO vibe. Honestly, it's not that Shu Ruining didn't love me. When her mom got super sick, I blew my entire startup fund to pay for her medical bills. That put her in a vulnerable spot. She owed me big time, acting like the perfect submissive wife. But once her company blew up, and she became super successful while I stagnated, Shu Ruining wanted to flip the dynamic and wear the pants in the relationship. Little did she know that toxic mindset triggered non-stop drama, tearing our marriage apart. From fighting to sleeping in separate rooms, until we hit rock bottom today, we built a massive wall between us. In her past life, standing outside the divorce office, Shu Ruining totally regretted it. But before she could even say a word, we got caught up in a crazy love triangle murder scene. Some trashy guy tricked his wife into a fake divorce, just so he could marry his side chick. The furious ex-wife literally rammed her car into them, and ended up hitting me and Shu Ruining in the crossfire. Pure instinct took over, and I shoved her out of the way. Shu Ruining fell hard onto the ground. When she scrambled back up, she was met with a literal nightmare. I was already bleeding out on the pavement. After losing me that day, her whole life basically lost its meaning. The guy who gave up everything for her was gone forever. She loathed herself. If she hadn't acted so toxic, things would never have spiraled out of control like this. Shu Ruining scrambled into the living room and found the guy she missed 24/7 chilling on the couch. Just a few steps away, she just stared blankly at me. The insane relief of seeing me alive, mixed with the massive guilt from her past life, completely hit her at once. But then I spoke, dragging Shu Ruining right back to harsh reality. "Let's get a divorce. Read the agreement. If it looks good, just sign it. We'll hit up the divorce office tomorrow." Shu Ruining felt like someone poured ice water over her. Even though the universe gave her a second chance, our marriage was still hanging by a single thread, ready to snap at any second. If she couldn't fix this life was doomed to repeat the same tragedy. Even if she dodged that fatal crash, we'd eventually become total strangers. The guy she loved would become someone else's husband, and all my love would belong to another girl. "Hubby, please, let's not get a divorce, okay?" Shu Ruining sobbed. I hadn't heard her call me that in ages. It honestly felt super weird. I looked up at Shu Ruining. Back in college, she was absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. A literal campus goddess. Now she was even more stunningly perfect, like an untouchable moon you could only look up at. But I was completely burnt out. I felt zero sparks left for her. Let's just let each other go. Ending this marriage now is for the best. Shu Ruining, you've changed. And I lost myself in this toxic marriage. All those big promises we made, now they just feel like a prison. We sleep in separate rooms. I wanted a kid, but you kept brushing it off. You literally promised me all this before we got married. I sighed heavily. Bringing up old drama was pointless. You've been giving me the cold shoulder. Isn't a divorce exactly what you wanted? Fine, you win. Let's go sign the papers tomorrow. My words felt like literal daggers to Suru, stabbing her right in the heart over and over. I'm so sorry, hubby. I totally failed at being a good wife. Please, just give me one more chance. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I promise, I'll fix this. Shu Ruining's eyes turned red as she spoke, tears welling up. My normally ice-cold CEO wife was actually crying because I asked for a divorce. She was actually crying. Did she actually care? Or did she just realize my worth now that I'm leaving? Or was she just paranoid? I wanted half her company. Thinking back on all the toxic BS from the last few years, my mind was totally made up. Whether you sign or not, we're getting a divorce. For the sake of what we had. Let's just end this cleanly. I dropped the divorce papers on the coffee table and headed back to my guest room. Shu Roning was left alone in the living room. She kept replaying every single word I said in her head. Her heart was literally aching. She was the one who broke me. No matter what it took, she was going to earn my forgiveness. She refused to ever go through the absolute hell of losing me again. In the shower, letting the hot water wash over me, I realized tonight's showdown went completely off script. If she was still the girl I married, I'd bet my life she still loved me. But as her company blew up, the gap between us got wider. She completely lost her sweet side. We fought constantly, giving each other the silent treatment. Our perfect life turned into a total train wreck. Was there even any love left between us? I held out my hand, watching the water slip right through my fingers. After my shower, I opened my laptop, knocked out some busy work and got ready for bed. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Shu Ruining's heart was heavy with regret. Playing mind games in a relationship literally has no winners. All that toxic energy just led to them sleeping in separate rooms. Now she had to knock just to get into her own husband's room. Other than the marriage certificate, we were basically just roommates. I opened the door. She was wearing an elegant white slip dress. Her usual ice queen vibe had totally softened. What do you want? Hubby, come sleep in the master bedroom. I already made the bed for us. Her normally cold voice was suddenly super sweet. If I remember correctly, you were the one who demanded we sleep in separate rooms. I stated the facts, cold hard. It's been so long. I'm used to sleeping alone now. You should just think about what I said tonight. I shut the door. End of discussion. Shu Roning knew it wouldn't be that easy to win back the heart she had completely shattered. Still, it hurt. Back in their honeymoon phase, they were so obsessed with each other, tangling in bed all morning. Now that felt like an impossible dream. She headed back to the master bedroom. The huge room just felt lonely. On the nightstand sat a framed wedding photo. Shu Ruining picked it up and stared at it, tracing her husband's face with her fingertip. All their perfect memories flooded back. Hubby, I miss you. Shu Ruining stayed up all night, racking her brain on how to win me back. After all, she was running out of time. She finally crashed around dawn. The next morning, I walked into the living room and didn't see Shu Ruining anywhere. The house was completely empty. It hadn't felt like a real home in forever anyway. I grabbed my keys and headed straight to the office. Sunlight spilled into the room at 9 a.m., waking Shu Ruining up. She had planned to make me breakfast like she used to, and tie my tie for work, but she totally missed her chance. Luckily, she quickly came up with a backup plan. I walked into my office. "Morning, boss," a bubbly voice rang out. It was Chen Jianxin, my assistant who had been with me since day one. She was standing right there. Chen Jianxin knew me well enough to tell that I was in a crap mood. She quickly brewed a cup of tea and handed it over. Sales were through the roof lately. What was there to stress over? While I was drinking my tea, Chen Jianxin sneaked a glance at my face, then quickly looked away. I put down my mug and went straight into work mode. The company was slammed right now. So busy I almost skipped lunch. "Health is wealth, boss," Chen Jianxin said, as she laid out a perfectly plated lunch for me. "Have you eaten?" Obviously, how else would I have the energy to serve you? The second the words left her mouth, a super elegant and icy figure stepped into the office. Shu Ruining had clearly rushed over from her own company. dressed in a sharp power suit, giving off major boss energy, the ultimate Ice Queen CEO, but she was holding a fancy bento box. It was pretty obvious why she was here. The office instantly went dead silent. I never expected Shu Ruining to show up, seeing Chen Zhenxian hooking me up with lunch. Shu Ruining got major FOMO about being replaced. Plus, with that super borderline flirty comment, her internal alarm bells were absolutely screaming. I told Chen Zhenxian, "You can go take your break." Chen Zhenxian literally never imagined that her casual little joke would get caught in 4K by the boss's wife. Now she was looking sus with no way to explain it. They're not gonna start drama over this, right? Now it was just the two of us in the office. Shu Ruining stayed quiet for a sec, then said softly, "Hubby, I brought you lunch. See if it hits the spot." The second she spoke, her boss energy totally vanished. The Ice Queen CEO turned into a super sweet wife, unpacking the fancy wooden bento box layer by layer. It was packed with all my favorite foods, seeing me get up from my desk, like I was actually going to eat. Shu Ruining felt a huge rush of excitement, but her hopes were instantly crushed. With 2 lunches sitting on the desk, I straight up grabbed the other one. Then, I coldly asked her, why the sudden change of heart about the divorce? Worried about splitting the assets? If that's what's stressing you out, you can chill. I can pay my own bills. I'm not trying to take your money. Hubby, I literally never even thought about leaving you. Oh really? Zero trust in my voice. If 24-year-old Shu Ruining had said that to me, right after we got married, when she still loved me, I totally would have believed it. I knew exactly why our marriage got so toxic. It was the massive gap in our money and status. Now, my wife was totally dropping her cold act, acting like we were back in our honeymoon phase. If it wasn't about the money, then what the hell was her deal? Shu Ruining wanted to defend herself, but realized she literally couldn't. In all our past fights, she was totally projecting her own ego, wanting me to just submit to her. That's what led to this whole train wreck. Hubby, whether you believe it or not, I never wanted to divorce you. All these years, you're the only one in my heart. I really hope you can drop your guard. I know I've put you through so much toxic BS. Whatever you want, or whatever I can do to make it up to you. Just name it. As long as it's possible, I'm totally down. Faced with her super soft apology, I gave zero reaction. I didn't even give her an inch. Just kept eating my lunch. She thought back to how sweet we were as newlyweds. The dinner table was never this dead. We'd always be chatting back and forth, spilling the tea about our day, never getting bored. But now, acting like total strangers, literally felt like rubbing salt in the wound. A wave of absolute heartbreak hit her. Our perfect aesthetic vibe had turned into total awkward silence. Shu Ruining totally understood that words were just talk. If she wanted to win back her man's heart, she needed to put in the actual work. Seeing that I was done eating, she knew she had to head out. After all, if she overstayed her welcome, it would only annoy her husband more. She figured she'd just wait until we got home tonight and slowly make her move. Hubby, don't overwork yourself. Take a break when you need to. Your health is the most important thing. Don't stress about the money. I've got you covered. She gave me one last super longing look before slowly walking out. Her words honestly just went in one ear and out the other. If I was actually just living off my wife's money, I probably would have just silently taken her cold shoulder abuse. I'd have zero right or guts to bring up divorce. Financial independence gives you personal independence. That's the most basic rule of life. Last night, I dropped the divorce bomb with zero hesitation. Honestly, I was never the type of guy who worshipped money above all else. If I actually cared that much about the bag, I could have just dumped Shu Ruining back then and used my first pot of gold to launch a startup. Instead of blowing it all on her mom's medical bills, the driver cautiously asked, "Boss, are we heading back to your company?" Shu Ruining stood by the mall window, just staring out. Today was a big day, our wedding anniversary. She decided to personally hook me up with some gifts. The luxury sedan slowly pulled out, heading straight for the most high-end mall in Jinli. There, Shu Ruining personally picked out my outfits from head to toe. Belts, leather shoes, luxury watches, even a freaking supercar. The sales staff were secretly so jealous of the guy who wasn't even there. Not only did he have an insanely gorgeous wife, which was already hard enough to swallow, but she was also a total simp for him. Like buying sports cars. She literally bought 2 at once. Just because the newest model was on backorder. So she bought the one in stock first. Just so he'd have something to drive. Like, is she even real? Su Ruoning spending money on me. Actually, felt better than spending it on herself. Her phone rang. But it wasn't the call she was desperately hoping for. Ruoning, got any free time lately? I'm checking out my new resort project. Wanna come vibe with me? The voice on the other end was insanely smooth. Enough to melt anyone's heart. It was Liu Ruian calling. They had worked together before. Hit it off. And were pretty tight. But right now, Shu Ruoning just wanted to stick by her husband. A resort trip would take at least 2 or 3 days. She didn't want to leave, and she wasn't going to. Sorry, right now. I've got something super important to handle. So I'll pass. You guys have fun though. Did your company hit a rough patch? Shu Ruoning suddenly realized that maybe those incredibly seductive, charismatic bombshells actually knew how to lock down a man's heart. She asked Rian, tell me, what should I do to win back a guy's heart? She figured a glamorous queen like Lu Ruyan, who practically dripped elegance, definitely had a million guys simping for her. She'd definitely know how to read a man's mind. Truth is, Liu Ruyan only had eyes for one guy, and totally curved all those other dudes. She was more loyal than anyone. Jumping straight from business, talk to relationship drama, was a pretty wild pivot. But that didn't stop Liu Ruyan on the other end from flashing a knowing smile. I mean, who doesn't love sipping relationship tea? Liu Ruyan never guessed Shu Ruoning would have this kind of problem. Logically, with a wife that drop-dead gorgeous, her husband should be treating her like absolute royalty. Was it because she was too much of an ice queen? The CEO was quick on her feet and instantly clocked the real issue. Liu Ruyan started using her microscopic amount of experience to give advice. Ruoning, she said, have you been acting super cold lately, making your partner lose faith in the marriage? Why are you still holding on to your ego and pride? You guys are literally the most intimate people in the world to each other. Drop the attitude and just do your wifey duties. Once he actually feels your softer side, he might just slowly change his mind about leaving. Liu Ruyan's advice totally woke Shu Ruoning up. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Like last night, when her husband refused to sleep in the master bedroom, she totally boxed herself into one way of thinking. Like they say, if the mountain won't come to Muhammad, Muhammad must go to the mountain. If he won't come to the master bedroom, she can just go crash in the guest room. If she needs to push it, she can just wait till he's asleep and sneak in with the spare key. Sometimes giving someone too much space just means you'll never actually get close to them. Besides, they weren't divorced yet. Isn't a married couple sleeping in the same bed totally normal? Got it, T. Liu Ruyan thought back to her own past relationship drama and couldn't help but relax. She remembered back when she used to argue with her crush. All it took was acting a bit soft, sweet-talking him a little, and buying him his favorite pastries, and things would usually chill out. Liu Ruyan knew deep down that this trick only works on someone who still loves you. Don't stress too much, Ruoning. If you just take the initiative, your partner won't be able to stay cold forever. Making up is just a matter of time. Even the most toxic-free couples have their fights. It's all about how you handle the drama. Hearing Liu Ruyan's pep talk, totally hyped Shu Ruoning up. Her doubts instantly started fading away. Shu Ruoning then pivoted her focus from the emotional baggage back to her business. As a reborn CEO, she obviously had the cheat codes for the future and knew she couldn't monopolize every opportunity herself. She needed a partner in crime to scheme with it. The two boss ladies chatted for about half an hour before hanging up. She checked her fancy watch. 2 p.m. Still 4 hours until she could see him again. In a stunning villa surrounded by mountains and water, an absolutely gorgeous, seductive woman put down her phone. Staring blankly out the window, the tea Shu Ruoning just dropped was a total bombshell, logically and emotionally. She had zero reason not to team up. But Liu Ruyan just couldn't vibe with it. Having a chance to win back the one you love, that's literally a first world problem. She didn't even know if her guy hated her or had already completely forgotten her. Liu Ruyan was terrified of him hating her, but also terrified of him forgetting her. Either way, it felt like straight-up karma. But honestly, she felt like whatever he decided to do was totally valid. After all, she was the one who broke her promise and dumped him. In that moment, Liu Ruyan looked as fragile as a flower in the wind, beautiful but radiating major lonely vibes. In the office, a stunningly lively figure nervously crept in. "Boss, you and your wife didn't get into a fight, right?" she asked, sounding super guilty. She was just casually complaining, but got caught in 4K by the boss's actual wife. How else would I have the energy to serve you even mean? Like, listen to how soothes that sounds. Chen Joinxin definitely had a crush on me. But between a boss and an employee, there's a massive boundary you just don't cross. My wedding ring was basically a max-level shield, constantly reminding Chen Joinxin that this ridiculously handsome guy was strictly look, but don't touch. Don't try anything stupid. Getting to hang out around your crush every day, while getting paid for it. And the best part is, her boss doesn't gaslight or micromanage like other toxic CEOs. Chen Joinxin. Oh, Chen Joinxin. What more could you possibly want? You gotta learn to appreciate what you have. Just focus that extra energy on your actual job. If assistants had rankings, youth would be the ultimate flex. Having her around honestly took a ton of stress off me. As I flipped through another proposal a worker submitted, I used to think arguing was a massive red flag. But the biggest red flag is when you don't even have the energy to argue anymore. Chen Joinxin watched her boss keep a totally straight face, working away like normal. Wait, if a wife hears a super sketchy comment, shouldn't she be interrogating him until she gets the truth? And then the husband fires the assistant just to play it safe. Chen Joinxin looked totally weirded out, low-key freaking out, terrified that any second now I'd take her out to lunch to serve her a big plate of "you're fired." After surviving in the corporate world for so long, I obviously knew exactly what Chen Joinxin was stressing over. I put down the proposal and said, just focus on work. Stop overthinking all this random drama. Chen Joinxin's emotions were literally on a roller coaster, up 1 second, down the next. She never expected this whole mess to just blow over so quietly. The sun went down. I finished up all my tasks. No overtime tonight. I drove home, parked the car, opened Spotify, and vibed to a few old songs before finally getting out. Maybe because our marriage was cracking, my car was slowly turning into my second home. The second I stepped through the door, I was greeted by an IZZ, a totally different aesthetic than usual. A massive spread of food was perfectly plated on the dining table. The faint smell of home-cooked food drifting over felt so warm and inviting, enough to melt any tired worker's heart. Su Ruining was quietly waiting for me to get home. Her usual ice-cold aura had totally faded, replaced by this super soft, cozy vibe. Looking as stunning as she did on our wedding night. "Hubby, you've worked so hard today. Hurry up and come eat." She gracefully walked over, reaching out to help me take off my suit jacket. Too bad, compared to actual muscle memory, she was still way too slow. I smoothly took it off myself in just a few seconds. When was the last time my wife helped me dress? Or tied my tie? I honestly couldn't even remember. Shu Ruoning hadn't figured out the cheat code to fix us yet, but she definitely wasn't rage quitting. Ever since we started sleeping in separate rooms, meal times became literally the only time we'd interact. Married couples not sleeping in the same room. Obviously, the communication drops to zero. It makes total sense that feelings would fade. I clearly remembered that today was our wedding anniversary. But with our relationship being this incredibly toxic right now, there was literally nothing worth celebrating. Xiu Ruoning remembered too, but she was too scared to bring it up. If anyone was to blame for this marriage turning into a complete train wreck, she was the undisputed villain. Hearing the words, "wedding anniversary," come from her mouth, felt like a bad dark joke. I focused 100% of my attention on the delicious food in front of me. The nanny's cooking skills were seriously leveling up. A female CEO definitely didn't have these kinds of culinary skills, and she didn't need to anyway. So I ate without a shred of guilt, seeing that her husband had absolutely zero desire to talk to her. A flash of sadness crossed Shu Ruoning's bright eyes. Karma never misses. But this karma tasted incredibly bitter. Hubby, I bought you some gifts. Check them out, see if you like them, she said softly. A sports car key was placed on the table. That iconic logo made it impossible to ignore. Plus, a luxury watch in a gorgeous box. Under the lighting, the watch face was literally glowing. They were obviously insanely expensive. I just glanced at them and immediately went back to my food. I had my own car and watch. Sure, they weren't top-tier luxury, but they got the job done. About the divorce. Have you thought about it? Hearing my super detached tone, Shu Ruoning felt like her heart was being stabbed with needles. She chose to dodge the question entirely, purposefully ignoring the topic altogether. After all, a wife dropping cash on her husband couldn't possibly be considered a waste, right? What's mine is yours. Back then, hubby, didn't you blow all your savings on me? If you don't vibe with this watch, or this supercar brand, we can just go buy different ones. I put down my chopsticks and said, oh, so you actually remember the past. Sometimes I honestly wondered if you had amnesia. Shu Ruoning was left speechless. The vibe instantly dropped below freezing. Right at that moment, a chill ringtone echoed out, practically giving her a much-needed lifeline. I saw it was my mom calling, and my mood instantly chilled out. I let out a long breath, my voice softening. Hey mom, have you eaten dinner yet? Your dad and I are just taking a walk in the park. With the weather changing, you really need to keep an eye on your health. Like I wouldn't know my own mother. Her calling me right now. 9 times out of 10, it's her daily push to get us to have kids. As for the divorce drama, I'd already looped my dad in it. My mom's health wasn't great. She has asthma and gets overly emotional. So I specifically kept the divorce a secret from her. I was afraid she'd stress out without being able to help, and probably lose sleep over it. It would just be a total mess. Better to keep her in the dark as long as possible. After my dad heard the whole tea, he smoked 2 cigarettes in silence. Then said, if you're not happy, just get a divorce. You're a grown man now. You can make your own calls. If they think they're too good for my son now that they're rich, why bother clinging on? We live to maintain our self-respect. My mom was still completely clueless. 2 seconds into the call, and she already pivoted to wanting a grandchild. Any news from Ruoning's belly? You guys are gonna hit 30 in a few years. It's about time you had a kid. Mom, stop stressing so much. Just enjoy your retirement. We're both super slammed right now. I just tossed out a random excuse. It sounded solid on the surface, but it was literally paper thin. One poke, and the whole lie would shatter. Shu Ruoning quietly listened to our mother-son phone call. In the silent room, she could faintly catch pieces of the conversation. My mom, Fang Lan, seemed to have endless things to say. I was slowly losing my patience. So, I made up an excuse to avoid handing her the phone. She went to shower, so it's not a good time for her to talk. Hearing that, Shu Ruoning's heart completely sank. She felt like her privileges as a wife had been fully revoked. But I definitely didn't think I was in the wrong. Rights and duties go hand in hand. Back then, I was the one begging for a kid, and Shu Ruoning shut me down, even though we literally agreed on it before getting married. If she had just said yes, that kid would already be calling us mom and dad by now, and we might not be heading for a divorce. Plus, this was basically just a pressure to have kids call. She didn't want kids anyway. The way I saw it, I wasn't stripping Shu Ruoning of her rights. I was literally doing her a favor by handling the drama. Finally, thanks to a clutch assist from my dad, the phone call mercifully came to an end. What did mom say? After I finished dinner, I just got up and bounced, leaving the supercar key and luxury watch sitting right on the table, leaving Shu Ruoning completely alone. Half an hour later, Shu Ruoning's phone rang. She had zero appetite anyway. It was my mom, basically calling right on cue. Mom, how have you been feeling lately? Ruoning, honey, when are you and Chen planning on having a baby? I'm not trying to be nosy. It's just really bad to wait too long to have kids. You're already 27. If you drag this out a few more years, the risks of childbirth will shoot way up. Mom, you're totally right. I'll talk to my hubby about it soon. Hearing her daughter-in-law say that, Fang Lan finally let out a sigh of relief. She chatted for a couple more minutes and hung up, not wanting to third-wheel the couple. In Shu Ruoning's eyes, her mother-in-law had always been super understanding. She never tried to micromanage their marriage. This was actually the very first time she'd gotten to have a baby call. Honestly, it really was time for her and her husband to have a kid. It sounded like a beautiful plan in theory, but pulling it off was going to be a massive headache. She got her clothes ready and slowly stepped into the bathroom. Steam filled the air. Her absolutely flawless figure was lightly veiled by the mist. The woman reflecting in the mirror was still incredibly elegant and classy, literally looking like a goddess. Xu Ruining couldn't help but flash back to Chen Jianxin, the girl she saw in the office. Even though her face and body couldn't compare to Xu Ruining's, she had this incredibly lively, bubbly vibe. That kind of energy is super rare. When you've been grinding all day and look up to see her standing right there, just chatting with her for a minute would totally distress you. Xu Ruining's sense of crisis instantly skyrocketed. If it were the past, she naturally wouldn't sweat this kind of potential threat. But now, her husband's heart wasn't with her anymore. It was nothing like their honeymoon phase when they were all over each other, completely in love, even if she was drop-dead gorgeous. It's useless if he doesn't love her. Plus, her intuition told her that the assistant's intentions weren't innocent. She definitely had a crush on her husband. For people who have lost and regained someone, their possessiveness acts like a massive magnifying glass, making every tiny detail crystal clear. In their eyes, they can't tolerate even a single grain of sand anymore. A plan quietly formed in her mind. She had to make Chen Jianxin quit. After I came back from my night run, I showered like usual and turned on my computer, completely unaware that my mom had bypassed me, and called Xu Ruining directly to give her some instructions. I'm literally a married man, but living like a single guy. In the long-dead class group chat, someone suddenly suggested having a reunion. I skimmed through the messages, didn't say a word, and quietly exited. After scrolling through some trending news, I got sleepy, so I turned off the lights and went to bed. Half asleep, I heard the sound of the doorknob turning. Light footsteps walked in. The nightlight was too dim to see who it was clearly. It just gave that perfect, curvy figure an extra hazy, aesthetic vibe, using the faint glow of the night light. Xu Ruining could vaguely see her husband's back. She slowly climbed into bed and hugged me from behind. A huge wave of security washed over her. I was dozing off, but instantly woke up. A fragrant, soft, and warm body pressed tightly against me, feeling softer than a cloud. I obviously knew it was Xu Ruining. I figured with her usual Ice Queen personality, if I ignored her, she'd just leave. I didn't expect her to be this proactive. Was this really the same Xu Ruining who, after securing her wealth and status, acted like a total boss? Since hubby doesn't want to sleep in the master bedroom, I'll just sleep in the guest room with you. Xu Ruining wanted to say more, but her arm around my waist was shoved away. Her embrace was suddenly empty. You won't sleep in the master bedroom, and I absolutely forbid you from following me here. I've long gotten used to sleeping alone. With you here, I can't sleep. I got up out of bed. Soon, Xu Ruining was left alone in the room. She felt a bit lost. Rome wasn't built in a day. Thinking she could easily win back her husband's heart was way too naive. Honestly, this was totally within her expectation. Even so, hearing such disgusted words, the disappointment still hit her like a tsunami. Xu Ruining couldn't help but think back to when she demanded they sleep in separate rooms. Her husband was probably even more heartbroken back then. Instant karma. I'm sorry. Xu Ruining hugged the blanket that still had her husband's scent. Recalling that brief hug just now, she felt like she was literally the dumbest woman on earth, single-handedly tearing apart a perfectly good marriage and deeply breaking her husband's heart. Why did she have to force the person who loved her to submit? Sometimes, winning in love means you actually lose. The blanket in her arms was soft, but it wasn't the guy she loved. It couldn't fill the void in her heart. When she hugged me from behind just now, Xu Ruining regretted the separate room decision so bad. She didn't grab the happiness right in front of her, and instead pushed it away hard. I forced down my grief, not daring to overthink it. The more I thought, the more it hurt, and the more bitter I felt. Nothing but regrets. Xu Ruining still had backup plans, but tonight was a bust. Her husband's patience was already at zero. She had to put her moves on hold. Surrounded by my lingering scent, the insomniac Xu Ruining gradually fell asleep. I had that nightmare again. She was still there, and I still couldn't escape my fate, collapsing in a pool of blood, even though I left my phone in the guest room. My biological clock still woke me up right on time. After washing up, I went back to the guest room. Shu Ruoning was dressed in formal wear and up earlier than me. Her long, beautiful black hair cascaded over her shoulders. The morning light spilled through the window onto her, looking as perfect as a dream. I was secretly stunned. It was like last night's drama didn't even happen. Hubby, did you sleep well last night? I already laid out your clothes. Are you ready? A formal suit lay quietly on the bed, but I completely ignored it. DII is the best way. I was just thinking about what to have for dinner tonight. There were a few new outfits in the closet, but out of habit, I picked out my usual ones. Shu Ruoning watched me, and I couldn't even be bothered to say a word to her, let alone ask her to tie my tie. I thought to myself, this woman is seriously getting colder and colder. When we first got married, she would tie my tie every single morning. Then I'd give her a kiss, sometimes even making me late for work because of it. Back then, my heart was super sweet. But as Shu Ruoning got busier, and her company took off, the gap in our wealth and status just kept getting wider. She wasn't gentle and caring like before. She became ice cold, wanting to control every part of this marriage. It left a really bitter taste in my mouth. Now she suddenly wants to exercise her wife privileges, but her husband is completely ignoring her. She felt super frustrated. I was dressed sharp, looking incredibly handsome, radiating that mature man energy. Hubby, if you think I'm refusing to divorce because of the money, I'll transfer all my company shares to you right now. I totally knew how much wealth that business represented, but I just calmly adjusted my cuffs. That stuff has nothing to do with me. If you really care, then just sign that divorce agreement from last time. There was no way Shu Ruoning was going to agree. After breakfasty, I drove off. Morning boss Chen Zhuanqin seemed as bubbly as ever. Brew a cup of tea, I ordered. Having dodged a bullet, she was working even harder now. Little did she know, the real drama was yet to come. When getting off work in the evening, a luxury car slowly pulled up next to her. The window rolled down, and Chen Zhuanqin knew she was screwed. Inside the cafe, Shu Ruoning sat face to face with her. Chen Zhuanqin tried to play it cool while checking her out, internally comforting herself, even though I have a crush on the boss. I haven't actually crossed any lines. Don't panic, having a crush isn't illegal. After a long pause, Shu Ruoning asked, want a new job? Chen Zhuanqin listened, as this impossibly gorgeous woman laid out her terms. The company she mentioned was super famous, a management role, and the salary was off the charts. For a girl to work at cosmetics empire is like a guy landing a job at a top gaming company. Chen Zhuanqin was totally tempted, but only for a second. Sorry, I don't have any plans to change jobs right now, and I have the skills for that position. Thanks for the offer, though. Not enough money. So Ruoning took a sip of her coffee and coughed lightly. Looked like she caught a cold last night. Honestly, you don't need to be so hostile towards me. Your husband and I strictly have a boss-employee relationship. Nothing more. That comment you heard in the office last time was a complete misunderstanding. Taking a step back, the boss has a wife as stunning as you. Why would he ever look twice at me? If there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave. Chen Zhuanqin walked away looking totally chill, but her heart was actually beating out of her chest. First time experiencing the sheer pressure of the main wife. Just hearing one joke, and she immediately flexed, throwing out insanely lucrative offers to get rid of her. This possessiveness is way too toxic. But honestly, Chen Zhuanqin felt guilty. Who told her to actually have a crush on me? Inside the cafe, Shu Ruoning sighed softly. It seemed this girl definitely had some feelings for her husband. Otherwise, with those kinds of terms, how could an assistant not be poached? I'll just head home first. I miss him. In the dead of night. Since I have a habit of working out, I sleep super deeply. The bedroom door was pushed open again. A beautiful curvy figure slipped in. It was obviously Yu Ruoning. This time, I didn't reject the hug. A sleeping person can't say no. She tenderly stroked her husband's face, her eyes totally overflowing with love. Shu Ruoning leaned in, satisfied, until their noses almost touched. She dropped a gentle kiss. It felt like going back in time, back to their sweetest honeymoon phase. When Sue Ruining and I used to share a bed, she'd usually wake up before me. After waking up, she couldn't resist secretly kissing me while I slept. Then she'd stare at my sleeping face, totally simping and never getting tired of it, hoping that when I woke up, the first thing I'd see was her deeply loving gaze. If she got caught stealing a kiss by her husband, she definitely couldn't escape getting punished. Looking back, those days were insanely sweet. She wanted to hold me even tighter, but was terrified of waking me up. That distance, so close yet so far, made her heart flutter like crazy. Hubby, just love me one more time, okay? If you don't say anything, I'll take it as a yes, Shu Ruoning whispered, using this totally delusional way to comfort herself. A pang of heartache rippled through me. She couldn't even dare to imagine me being with another woman after the divorce. The guy who used to love her so much becoming someone else's husband. All the beautiful memories totally turning to ashes. Like absolutely nothing had happened. My heart literally ached. The biggest plot twist in life is getting back what you thought you lost forever. But the absolute worst feeling is handing your own happiness over to someone else. I regretted it so much. It was late. I was exhausted. With her lover right beside her, Shu Ruoning unconsciously drifted off. This time, she didn't dream about me dying in a pool of blood. Instead, she dreamed she was trapped in a massive fire, in total agony. When I woke up the next morning, I found a gorgeous girl in my arms. She was stunning, but her eyes were glassy, and she was completely drenched in sweat. I was low-key panicking. The seasons were changing, and the flu was going around. Shu Ruoning had started coughing yesterday, but totally brushed it off. Busy hustling all day, and spending all night stressing over how to win back her husband. She was totally burned out, and now she was running a fever. I was seriously worried. She was hugging me tight, refusing to let go, even through her clothes. I could feel her slender body burning up. Her perfect face was flushed a sickly red. My mind was racing. I reached out to touch her flawless forehead. Burning hot. Wake up. Shu Ruoning opened her eyes, glancing around, her eyes slightly red. Hubby, I feel awful. Shu Ruoning was as fragile as a flower about to wilt. Where was that usual Ice Queen CEO energy? We'd been married for years. I was totally used to seeing her like this. I was completely unfazed. I sighed. Of course you feel awful. You've got a fever. Get up. I'm taking you to the hospital. Shu Ruoning's last shred of sanity cursed her terrible luck. Her master plan hadn't even started, and she was already out of commission. Now her husband would just see her as a massive burden, right? He was probably even more turned off now. The intense discomfort from the fever made her cling to me even more. I don't want to go to the hospital. Just call a private doctor. The number's in my phone. I grabbed her phone from the nightstand and guessed the passcode. Still, the same old code, the last 6 digits of our anniversary. I found the contact and made the call. After asking about the symptoms, they respectfully promised to be there ASAP. Drink some water. I helped her sit up to drink. Everywhere I touched was soft and burning hot. Hubby, Shu Ruoning was clearly fishing for more attention. I ignored it, just helped her lie back down, and tucked her in. Before long, a super professional female doc arrived with her medical kit, checking her temperature, doing the whole routine. She prescribed some meds, told her how to take them, and then told me, the husband, that Shu Ruoning just had a fever from the flu. She needed plenty of rest. Feeling drowsy from the meds was totally normal. After dropping all the medical advice, the doctor headed out. I got up to walk her out. When I came back a minute later, I sat on the bed. Shu Ruoning probably thought I'd just head straight to the office and leave her alone. Being sick left Shu Ruoning physically and mentally drained. She was totally on edge and paranoid. Right now, she wasn't that terrifying, ice cold CEO from the company. She was just a fragile wife, running a fever, desperately wanting her husband's comfort. I walked back into the master bedroom. What are you doing? I saw Shu Ruoning throwing off the covers, getting ready to get out of bed. My tone was super strict, leaving no room for argument. Absolutely zero sympathy. My wife obviously wanted me to skip work today and stay home with her. Her pathetic puppy dog look completely melted my heart. The usually unapproachable Ice Queen CEO was acting like a kid begging for attention. Her eyes were literally pleading with me. Like I was her whole world. How could I possibly say no? I realized she was literally insane. It was the weekend, and she actually wanted to rest. Make it make sense. Hubby, let's not get a divorce, please. After Sue ruining lay back down, I tossed the empty medicine wrappers into the trash. I felt super annoyed. I ended up not answering her. The year we got married, Sue ruining caught a fever too. Back then she cuddled in my arms, mumbling about staying together forever and loving me forever. My heart totally melted for her back then. But look how that turned out. She became a completely different person, turning into an unmelting iceberg, and my heart completely froze over too. So now, I was totally immune to whatever she said. Unfortunately, the meds were kicking in. Sue ruining felt overwhelmingly sleepy. Her eyelids were insanely heavy. She fought to stay awake, desperately hoping for her husband's response. But he gave her absolutely nothing. Dozing off, she eventually fell into a deep sleep. Who knows how long she slept. Sue ruining woke up, drenched in sweat. But her fever had finally broken. The sunset was glowing through the window. It should have been a gorgeous aesthetic, but it just made Sue ruining feel completely isolated. She sat up and looked around. I was nowhere to be found. She was all alone in the master bedroom. Hubby? She called out hesitantly. Zero response. She felt like the entire world had literally abandoned her. Luckily, a moment later, footsteps approached. A tall, sharp figure appeared at the door. Sue ruining's panic instantly vanished. Without saying a word, I checked her forehead. No fever. Then, I brought over a bowl of congee and made sure the patient finished eating and taking her meds. Sue ruining didn't even dare to hope her husband would spoon-feed her like before. She obediently drank the congee and took her pills. I cleaned up the empty wrappers and took the bowl away. The room went dead silent again. When I went to shower in the guest bathroom and came back out, I saw that Sue ruining had actually followed me in. She was wrapped in a blanket leaning against the headboard. Looking so fragile and tragic, my heart totally broke for her. I was afraid of leaving her alone tonight. Even before she got sick, she was already completely missing her husband, let alone now that she's sick. She needed me even more. The doctor said your fever might come back tonight. Let's just sleep in the same room tonight. I wasn't about to argue with a sick person. I grabbed a towel to dry my hair. Seeing that her husband didn't kick her out, Sue ruining finally relaxed. A phone suddenly started ringing, totally ruining our aesthetic alone time. She was currently just chilling in the hot spring of her own private resort. Her black hair pinned up elegantly, giving off major rich anti-vibes. Absolutely stunning. The thick mist rolling over the water made everything blurry, adding a super mysterious vibe. With just a glance and every little movement, she radiated a breathtaking beauty, making anyone's heart race. In a way, she was way more captivating than Sue ruining. Sue ruining's untouchable Ice Queen energy honestly just pushed people away, while all she needed was one sultry look to make someone completely obsessed. Totally hooked. Liu Ruyan was just inspecting the property and taking a mini vacation, soaking in the hot spring. She was bored and decided to call Sue ruining. The hot springs here are a total vibe. Too bad you didn't come. How's the relationship drama going? She was genuinely wondering how her girl ruining was holding up, hoping she could finally fix her messy love life. A super breathy, heart-racing voice came through the phone, mixed with the sound of splashing water. My mind instantly went to some extremely spicy scenarios. Seeing me staring at my laptop, Sue ruining whispered, "There's been a little unexpected progress." Why is your voice suddenly so soft? Liu Ruyan paused for a second. All the signs pointed to her friend's unexpected progress, meaning that she got pampered after getting sick. No wonder she was speaking so carefully. Her husband was probably right next to her, so she couldn't spill the tea right now. Then, get some rest. I'll come visit you when I'm back. I thought to myself, she must be getting completely spoiled by her husband. That's why she sounded so chill. Liu Ruyan hung up the phone, feeling super emotional. Seeing her friend look so happy genuinely warmed her heart. Liu Ruyan asked her female assistant when she fought with her husband, how did they usually fix things? The assistant suggested buying a few sexy slip dresses. She wanted to share this pro tip with Sue ruining, but a cold, arrogant queen like Sue ruining probably wouldn't stoop that low, or even think of using A trick like that. She thought to herself, maybe this tactic was a little too basic for Shu ruining. But honestly, between a married couple, it just spices things up. It's not trashy at all. If it actually helped win him back, she'd be insanely lucky. Did she really want to wait until she cried all her tears out and everything was permanently ruined to finally regret it? I felt a rush of secret joy. This was actually a brilliant idea. I know the absolute agony of losing the one you love way too well. I didn't want Shu ruining to end up like me. Liu Ruyan, soaked quietly in the hot spring, totally spacing out. All those precious memories flashed through her mind, scene by scene. Even after all these years, they were still crystal clear. Liu Ruyan suddenly remembered how they used to fight back in the day. Whenever she whispered a soft apology in his ears would instantly turn completely red. Ah, the age of pure innocence. Just a tiny bit of physical touch was enough to obsess over for a lifetime. He was so sweet. Liu Ruyan, you literally just abandoned him. He must hate you so much. I guess I'm just doomed to never find happiness in this life. The gorgeous girl in the Benz stared at her reflection in the water and sighed softly. All these years, I've wanted to go find him countless times. But I was terrified of seeing that look of resentment in his eyes. And I couldn't even forgive myself. A heavy sigh, filled with endless regret, vanished into the wind. I closed my laptop and noticed the person in bed being super sketchy about her phone call. Like she was paranoid. I might overhear something she was hiding, but I literally couldn't care less. Ever since we started sleeping in separate rooms, we hadn't snooped through each other's phones once. You can't force someone to stay if they want to leave. I learned that hard truth a long time ago. Seeing her husband look over, Shu Ruining worried he'd misunderstand, and quickly explained, it was just a good friend calling. She invited me to her resort. She even made sure to add, that friend is a girl. I didn't press her on it. I just turned off the lights and got into bed. Sometimes, fate is just full of missed connections. If I had just asked one more question, things might have turned out completely different. The dark room was dead silent. Since we split rooms, I was used to sleeping alone, so I turned my back to Shu Ruining. We honestly looked nothing like a married couple. The bed in the guest room wasn't as huge as the master bed. It was just enough for 2 people, without much room to move around. Hubby, Mom called yesterday, pressuring us to have a baby. Shu Ruining hugged me from behind, feeling the safety of my broad back. The closer she got, the more she regretted demanding separate rooms. There were so many nights she missed me, but her ego wouldn't let her ask me to come back. Over time, that distance compounded, and our relationship totally shattered. So many nights were completely wasted. She could have had a warm embrace, but she chose to be alone and lonely instead. Realizing it was all her own fault was the most agonizing part. I'm so done talking about this. There's no point in bringing it up anymore. Back when I actually wanted a kid, I tried every way possible to coax you, but you refused. Everyone's patience has a limit. Once it's gone, it's gone. Times change. Now I'm actually glad we don't have kids. It makes walking away from this toxic marriage so much easier. With 0 strings attached. Shu Ruining knew she had hurt her husband way too deeply, tanking all the resentment rolling off him. She just kept talking. Once I recover, if you want 2 kids, hubby, I'll give you 2. 1 boy and 1 girl. The perfect little family. Holding her husband, Shu Ruining's heart fluttered. Too bad her body was just way too weak right now. The fever broke, but she was completely drained of energy, feeling like jelly. We haven't been intimate in forever. Her gentle whisper was overflowing with endless affection. It was hard to believe this was coming from the usual Ice Queen. I just shut my eyes and went to sleep, ignoring her sweet talking. My wife's slender, delicate hands were surprisingly bold, slipping under my clothes, igniting an indescribable fire. My desires were definitely stirring. Since you're feeling better, just go back to the master bedroom. I turned around and grabbed Shu Ruining's wrist, which was as pale as snow. We're married, we're supposed to share a bed. I don't want to go back, and I can't leave you. You were the one who demanded we sleep in separate rooms. Now you're acting all righteous about it. I regret it so much. My burning breath brushed against Shu Ruining's delicate earlobe, sending a shiver down her spine. Hubby, if it's uncomfortable for you, I can help. The reborn Shu Ruining was desperately trying to fulfill her wifely duties. I rejected her without a second thought. Xu Ruoning's chest tightened, feeling incredibly let down, but she knew that when she insisted on sleeping apart, she had totally crushed her husband's ego. It was fine. Once she was fully recovered, she'd take the initiative again. I didn't say a single word, and the room fell dead silent. Xu Ruoning was still feeling unwell, so she quickly dozed off again. With her lover by her side, she slept incredibly peacefully. Half an hour later, my breathing steadied, and I fell into a deep sleep too. At 3 a.m., in the dead of night, her high fever spiked again. Xu Ruoning was deliriously calling out. For me, I woke up instantly, feeling the burning heat from the body behind me. I whipped around, and by the light of the night lamp, saw Xu Ruoning's brows furrowed tight. Her face was flushed red, and fine beads of sweat covered her forehead. She looked like she was in agony. I practically jumped out of bed, turned on the lights, and fed her some meds. I checked Xu Ruoning's forehead again, burning hot. I frantically rushed off to get her a wet towel, but before I could even get up, she clung to me. She mumbled, "Hubby, don't go. Just stay right here with me. I don't want to lose you again." Her delirious words gave me a weird sense of unease, but I didn't have time to psychoanalyze fever-induced rambling. Xu Ruoning refused to let go, clinging to me like I was her entire world. I looked down at her in my arms. This super clingy version of her seemed like something from a lifetime ago. Once she recovered, she'd probably just go back to her usual ice-cold self. "Hubby," she kept muttering softly. Finally, after an hour, her fever broke again. I breathed a sigh of relief. I gently tucked Xu Ruoning back in and checked her pale forehead a few more times, to be absolutely sure her temperature was down. But now I couldn't fall back asleep. I grabbed my phone and saw a post from my bro. It was an entire photo dump of his adorable little girl. So squishy and cute. My peers all had perfect families and thriving careers. Meanwhile, I was stuck in limbo with a completely botched marriage. Sometimes I wondered, what would my life be like if I had never met Xu Ruoning? If I kept my startup fund and stayed with my team, I'd probably be super successful right now too. Maybe I'd have met a gentle, caring girl and had an adorable daughter just like my bro. In the morning, Xu Ruoning woke up first. I had rolled over at some point, ending up face to face with her. So, the very first thing she saw was her husband's face. A wave of pure happiness washed over her. The grogginess from the fever faded away. She wanted to reach out and touch me, but was scared of waking me up. Xu Ruoning remembered everything from last night. What stood out the most was the feeling of cuddling in her husband's arms. The more she thought about it, the more Xu Ruoning realized how insanely toxic she had been acting before. Married couples are supposed to be the most intimate people in the world to each other. They should support each other, with no egos and no scorekeeping. Because parents can't stay with their kids forever, for the rest of your life. Only your partner truly knows your ups and downs. At 9 a.m., I finally woke up. Morning. Xu Ruoning's voice was overwhelmingly gentle. I didn't respond, just reached over and checked her forehead. Not bad. After washing up, I brought her breakfast. A bowl of easy-to-eat, nutritious meat congee. Xu Ruoning understood that her husband's care was strictly directed at her as a patient, not as his wife. After she ate and took her meds, she asked me to pass her the laptop from the desk. She had some urgent work to handle. That afternoon, she got a call from her younger brother, Xu Fengnian. "Mom and Dad miss you. Are you coming home for dinner tonight?" Both our families lived in the same city. She went back to her parents' place for dinner every weekend, but she wasn't feeling well today, so she was skipping it. Xu Fengnian asked what was wrong. "I had fever. Did it break yet?" He handed the phone to Mother Xu, and Xu Ruoning chatted with her for a while before hanging up. Mother Xu was still worried, and insisted her son go check on his sister. Half an hour later, the driver dropped Xu Fengnian off at our place. I was just telling the nanny to start making dinner when the doorbell suddenly rang. I opened the door, and unexpectedly, it was my brother-in-law. Totally didn't see that coming. If I'm known for being grounded, Xu Fengnian is basically a walking red flag, but still riding that high horse. I knew that ever since the Xu family got rich, they all turned their backs on me. showing their true colors. Like they conveniently forgot everything I did for them. Or maybe the debt of gratitude was just too big, so it turned into resentment instead. They didn't want to acknowledge their broke past, and look down on the current me. She's upstairs. She had a fever yesterday. Xu Fengyan headed straight upstairs. Seeing her lying in bed, looking super pale, way worse than usual, he quickly walked over. "What are you doing here?" "Mom asked me to come check on you. Are you feeling any better? Do you need to go to the hospital again?" "No need, my fever already broke." Xu Fengyan looked at his sick sister and took his frustration out on me. Used to acting all high and mighty, he actually had the audacity to interrogate me. "Is this how you take care of my sister?" Hearing that, my face instantly dropped. Wow, okay. Trying to pull rank on me. What an ungrateful brat. The vibe in the bedroom instantly dropped below freezing. It was about to go off. It's a wild world. Some people repay a drop of kindness with a fountain. Others turn against you when they owe you too much. I'm a good guy, but with terrible luck. I ran into the second type. Logically speaking, between a married couple, if the wife's family is acting up, she should handle it. But I didn't expect Xu Ruining to take my side, so I wasn't going to give her any face either. "Xu Fengyan, you've really got some nerve now. Don't you even know basic manners when entering someone's house? Can't even call me brother-in-law. You used to say it so smoothly before. Coming to my door just to interrogate me. Anyone else would think I'm just a dog for the SU family. You want to point fingers at me. You're not qualified. Even mom wouldn't dare talk to me like that." I was absolutely ice cold. They say killing someone's father is an unforgivable grudge. So what about saving someone's mother? You couldn't repay that even by working like a horse. Xu Fengyan was all bark and no bite, left totally speechless, not knowing what to say. Before, for Xu Ruining's sake, I would have given him some face. But since we've reached this point, I'm just flipping the table entirely. Got something to say? Did I lie? Now that you're rich, you just forgot how much you used to kiss Upple. I stepped closer, grilling him without mercy. Xu Fengyan held his breath, totally mute, thinking to himself that talking to me was useless. He turned to Xu Ruining and said, "Sis, since he can't even take care of you, let's go home. You don't need to suffer here." "Hold up," hearing my voice. Xu Fengyan scoffed inwardly. He's panicking now, huh? Doesn't even look in the mirror to see what a loser he is. Does he even deserve my sister? In this power imbalance marriage, he automatically assumed I was the submissive one. But I've never lacked a backbone. I looked at Xu Ruining leaning against the headboard, and said, "Before you leave, sign the divorce papers. When you recover, pick a time to hit up the Civil Affairs Bureau to make it official." Xu Fengyan thought he was literally hallucinating. He was married himself, so he knew exactly how heavy the word divorce was. What a loser. Saying whatever when he's mad. Divorce? Like he has the right to bring that up? He really doesn't know his place. Flexing his ego now. Just wait till he comes to our house, begging my sister. He'll look so pathetic. Xu Fengyan thought to himself, looking down on me for supposedly losing my temper. Little did he know, I was completely calm. I knew exactly what I was doing. Hearing this, Xu Ruining's heart completely sank. She had finally managed to use her fever to stop her husband from bringing this up. But now it was accelerating towards the worst-case scenario. The two men in the room were at each other's throats. One was her husband, the other was her blood brother. But she had to make her stance clear immediately. "Let's go home. Mom and Dad are worried about you." Xu Fengyan's tone was full of smugness. The scales were tipping towards her family. "Fengyan, when things happen, most people side with family over reason. But you're both my family. It's time to be reasonable. Your brother-in-law took great care of me, bringing me congee and water. When my fever spiked last night, he got up in the middle of the night to look after me. I know you care about me, but you shouldn't just vent your anger on your brother-in-law. He's right. He's not just some dog. You need to respect him. If you still don't get it, then let me put it this way. You're married too. Would you want me interfering with your family? Would you want me using a condescending tone to interrogate your wife?" Xu Fengyan's smug fantasies of me calming down, realizing I made a stupid mistake, and crawling back to bed, completely shattered. What is going on? Why did her attitude change so much? "Sis, why are you taking his side?" We're the family here. Fengnian, do you think I'm siding with an outsider? Fine, I'll make a call right now. And curse out your wife, for no reason. Let's see if we fight. Xu Fengnian's ego hit rock bottom. His wife was pregnant and couldn't handle any stress. It was obvious who she'd side with. Xu Ruining coughed lightly, her tone softening. You're definitely in the wrong here. Hurry up and apologize to your brother-in-law. Xu Fengnian had been living the high life all these years, only ever bowing down to my aunt. His ego was more important than anything, especially seeing my completely unbothered expression. He was fuming inside. Make me bow to him. Who does he think he is? How much does he even make in a year? I honestly didn't care. Whether Xu Ruining stayed or left, he dropped to take care of yourself, to break the awkwardness, and just left. He walked out super fast, without even glancing at me. He left with a straight face. If someone didn't know better, they'd think I owed him my life. I just felt totally exasperated. When Xu Fengnian got back home, his family was just having dinner. His parents were both there. His mom asked, "Did your sister's fever break? How is she doing now?" Xu Fengnian gave a detailed rundown of what happened, heavily emphasizing that I wanted a divorce, and Xu Ruining defended me. After his whole speech, I sounded like I was whipping Xu Ruining with a belt. While she suffered miserably but still begged for me, they had long convinced themselves that my favor was repaid by letting me marry their daughter. Now it seemed my favor was just becoming a burden. I'm so furious. He actually wants a divorce. Does he think my daughter is unwanted? Wang Yun fumed. Don't ruin your health over this. He's just talking big. No way he'd actually divorce my sister. He's just playing hard to get, flexing just because my sister likes him. Once Ruining is better, I need to have a serious talk with him. Wang Yun was 90% furious at me, and 10% blaming her daughter for being clueless. How could I ever compare to their precious son? Once, Xu Fengnian left. It was just me and Xu Ruining in the bedroom. I didn't say a word and just turned to leave. Xu Ruining panicked, thinking I was going to grab the divorce papers. Fighting through her sickness, she instantly scrambled out of bed, seeing her husband about to walk out the door. Xu Ruining hugged me from behind. "Hubby, please don't be mad. I'll make Fengnian apologize to you. You can hit me or yell at me. Just please, don't divorce me." I felt a pang of sadness, but I could also feel Xu Ruining's genuine desperation. "Let go." A completely flat voice, showing zero emotion. Xu Ruining, standing behind me, couldn't see my face, and felt incredibly anxious. 1,000 words suddenly felt useless. "I'm calling Fengnian right now to apologize to you." I felt the weight lift off my back and walked straight out of the bedroom. I heard her talking on the phone behind me, but I didn't care. In the clean and tidy study, there wasn't even an ashtray. Sometimes, as a person, not having any bad habits isn't necessarily a good thing. About half an hour later, a completely insincere apology text popped up on my phone. The wording was so half-assed. I glanced at it and just swiped it away. I turned my gaze to the drifting clouds outside the window. In the master bedroom, Xu Ruining finished her call. Seeing that her husband still hadn't come back, she was literally panicking. She knew that since she was still sick, her husband at least wouldn't force her to sign the papers right now, or take it to court. But what about after she recovers? How long could a fever keep him tied down? The more she thought about it, the more terrified she got. She had absolutely zero confidence. Pushed to the edge, Xu Ruining actually had the crazy idea of making her sickness last a little longer. The only thing crueler than a fever in this world is losing someone again after you just got them back. It felt like being dragged into hell, with no one to vent her frustrations to. She had no choice but to call Lu Ruyan, and spilled all the tea about the clash between her family and her husband, venting everything. On the other end, Liu Ruyan was silent for a long time. Ruining. Getting married means building a new family with the person you love. If you don't put this new family first, then it falling apart is just a matter of time. Even in an inheritance lawsuit, a spouse always has higher priority than siblings. You can rarely have your cake and eat it too, since you have to pick one. Just pick what you truly want. When Liu Ruyan reached this point, her seductive voice suddenly carried a hint of sadness. Like she went from a spectator to the main character. She didn't have a brother. She was an only child. But the choice she faced back then was way more brutal than Shu Ruining's current situation, and way harder to make. Let's drop this. I'm super bored alone at this resort. So, I'm coming back tomorrow. Are you feeling any better? Send me your location. I'll come visit you. Okay. She hung up the phone. Taking advantage of the time before dinner, she actually sneaked into the ensuite bathroom to take a shower. Normally, when you have a fever and sweat through your clothes, changing your clothes is the most you should do. You absolutely shouldn't shower. When it was time for dinner, I finally showed up, still just there to supervise her eating kanji and taking meds. But when I saw the pajamas Shu Ruining was wearing, my brows furrowed. Did you take a shower? The usually ice-cold Shu Ruining didn't even dare to meet her husband's strict gaze. I was covered in sweat and felt awful, she mumbled. I never imagined Shu Ruining would go as far as intentionally keeping her fever going just to make me stay. How is this any different from those toxic girls who threatened to slit their wrists during a breakup? It's straight up insane. If we were still newlyweds, I might have actually fallen for it. But now, please. You shouldn't shower right after your fever breaks. Finish eating, and I'll call your private doctor to come check on you again. The vibe in the bedroom instantly turned completely dead. Both of us were lost in our own thoughts. She just lay in bed obediently, not daring to talk back to her husband. Before it got dark, that sharp female doctor showed up again. She prescribed some more meds based on her condition, gave some standard advice, and left. Shu Ruining stared at the pills, her beautiful eyes looking a bit dim. It wasn't because she was scared of the bitter taste. No matter how bitter, it was nothing compared to losing her man. But taking these meds meant she couldn't try for a baby anytime soon. With things the way they were, a baby was her only card to lock down her husband using responsibility. Night fell. After my shower, I was busy grinding on my laptop. Shu Ruining just watched me quietly, totally vibing with the feeling of being back in her husband's life. She didn't say a word, just soaking in the moment. It felt so good. She grabbed the thermos from the nightstand and poured her husband a glass of warm water. Drinking tea at night is a bad idea. It'll mess with your sleep, she thought to herself, a wave of tenderness washing over her. As she handed me the water, she noticed I was just reading the news, not actually working. Her slender fingers lightly touched my shoulders, trying to give me a massage. I was just chilling in bed, my eyes completely glued to the screen, so I straight up rejected my wife's advance. Shu Ruining froze for a second, then obediently backed off, staring at the hot girl wallpaper on my laptop. She started questioning her own looks for the first time ever. Then she remembered last night when she initiated things. Even though her husband controlled himself, his breathing was heavy and hot. That thought gave her a little comfort. That baddie wallpaper was literally just a random system recommendation. It was getting late. The second I got into bed, her warm, perfect body pressed right up against me, bringing that unique, fresh scent with her. I scoffed internally. You sneaky fox. Some friends are coming over tomorrow. Whatever, I guess. A random fashion model wallpaper pop-up had totally triggered Shu Ruining's competitive side. She sat up with a soft smile, then leaned over and gently kissed my cheek. I had just closed my eyes, ready to knock out for the night. I was so exhausted from yesterday, having to wake up multiple times in the night. I had tossed and turned until dawn before finally catching some ZUS. A second later, feeling the soft touch of her fingers and hair brush against my earlobe made me flinch. It was a total electric shock. What the hell was her deal? Under the dim night lamp, Shu Ruining's smile looked straight out of a dream. She whispered, "It's been forever since I saw my dear hubby like this." I couldn't help but steal a kiss. Did the fever completely fry Shu Ruining's brain? Like, seriously, how could someone as normally ice-cold as her say something like that? Even during our honeymoon phase, she was never this intensely passionate. A shiver literally went down my spine. Shu Ruining expected her husband to give her the cold shoulder, but instead he turned around and touched her forehead. No fever. That simple clinical checkup low-key hurt her feeling. I'm tired. Go to sleep. I pulled my hand back and completely ignored her. Before I could even roll over, Shu Ruining rested her head right on my chest. Her flawless, delicate hands, looking like literal art, slipped under my thin shirt, wandering all over me, like she was looking for something. We'd been married for years. How could she not know my weak spots? Just like that, she pressed her lips against mine. The blurry aura in the dark room made things intensely hot. This heat wasn't from her sickness, but a wild, heart-racing passion. I was feeling super irritated. Xu Fengnian had completely pissed me off today, and I felt totally suffocated. But taking it out on a sick person was lame. Except this patient was testing my limits, giving an inch and taking a mile. Like lightning, I grabbed my wife's warm hands, pinning them down with one hand. I locked both her slender wrists together, forcing them up over her head, onto the plush pillow. Our eyes locked. I stared at Xu Ruining's gorgeous figure, her curves rising and falling with her heavy breathing. Her flawless face was completely flushed, stunning enough to stop my heart. Her eyes were 70% anticipation and 30% nerves, not knowing if her sick body could handle it. But she was down, as long as I wanted it. After all, she had neglected me for way too long, totally failing at her wifely duties. Xu Ruining's mind was racing with a million thoughts, as she slowly closed her deeply affectionate eyes, putting on a completely submissive, inviting posture. But the passionate storm she expected never came. Go back to the master bedroom to sleep. Next time you run a fever or get sick, I won't give a single crap about you. With that command, Xu Ruining felt that intensely aggressive, burning presence leave her, leaving nothing but a red mark on her wrist, proving the wild moment that just happened. An absolute void of disappointment swallowed her up. Only at that exact moment did she realize that her husband pinning her down wasn't out of desire. It was pure anger. Hubby, are you still mad about today? Don't be mad. It's bad for your health. I'll make Fengnian personally apologize to you tomorrow. Xu Ruining hugged me from behind, feeling the heat and heavy breathing of the guy next to her. She felt a tiny bit smug. Looks like she definitely still had it. She whispered in my ear, Hubby, let's please not get a divorce, okay? Starting today, I'll do everything to be the perfect wife for you. 100% submissive and super understanding. I'll say yes to literally any request, except divorce. Even if you want me to work like a horse, I'm down. She looked at me anxiously, her mind completely in knots. A massive wave of guilt hit her. This is all that I owe you. If you don't believe me, I'll transfer all my assets to your name tomorrow. That should prove my sincerity. Hubby, just give me one more chance, okay? For the sake of all our years together, and the marriage we've fought to keep until now. I gave zero response, acting like I was fast asleep. I know you won't say yes, because all that toxic BS from the last few years is still hurting you. It's fine, I'll prove it through actions. Good night. Xu Ruining wanted to give me a goodnight kiss. But after being warned, just 2 minutes ago, she had to kill that idea. At least they had made up a bit today. As she replayed that brief kiss from earlier, she unconsciously drifted into dreamland. In her dream, she and I were back to being newlyweds, completely obsessed and sweet every single day. I pulled her into my arms, kissing her flawless cheek. Wifey, isn't it time we had a baby? The second those words came out, Xu Ruining instantly realized it was a dream. She wanted to stay in it forever. But it was already too late. The dream started shattering into pieces. When she woke up, the blank ceiling hit her eyes. Xu Ruining quickly checked the spot next to her. It was already empty. Her husband was long gone. Looks like I had already finished washing up, and was currently getting dressed. I had barely slept last night either, because who knew if Xu Ruining would have another fever spike like the night before, especially after taking a whole shower. Luckily, the night passed without any drama. Xu Ruining threw off the covers and got out of bed. Hubby, let me help you. I was putting on my undershirt and adjusting my cuffs, while Xu Ruining had already picked out my jacket and tie. She was totally putting her words into action, actively transforming from an Ice Queen CEO into a completely submissive, understanding wife. Her deft hands quickly finished tying her husband's tie and straightened his collar. I didn't have time to overanalyze her right now. The suppliers were having some massive issues, and since Xu Ruining was mostly recovered, I had to handle it in person. On the other side of town, a private jet was slowly landing at the airport. A luxury car was already waiting on the tarmac. An elegant, stunning woman stepped out. Her assistant opened the car door, and she slid inside, vanishing from the crowd's view. The nanny was so relieved to see the couple coming down for breakfast together. First, She was hyped that their relationship seemed to be thawing out. And second, her job was safe. If they kept fighting like this, the nanny was terrified they'd rage divorce, putting her high-paying job in serious jeopardy. Xu Ruining took over the nanny's job, personally scooping her husband a bowl of millet congee. Morning sunlight spilled over the table. As the smell of fresh congee filled the air, the ultimate cozy aesthetic of home, her heart felt totally warm. While I completely ignored her, Xu Ruining thought to herself, just having a quiet breakfast with her husband was a type of bliss. Only after surviving near-death separation could she truly appreciate how precious this was. But good times are always short-lived. A phone call shattered the peace. It was Wang Yun calling. Ruining. How is your body doing? I was drinking congee, but hearing their conversation, my spoon completely froze. Xu Fengyan's half-assed apology text instantly flashed in my mind. I had a weird gut feeling that her mother's call definitely wasn't as simple as just checking if her daughter was back. Not a chance. Wang Yun. The image of a lady lying in a hospital bed suddenly appeared in my mind. When we first got married, she was insanely nice to me, always calling me her star son-in-law, and swearing, if Ruining ever throws a toxic tantrum, told me to just go back and confront him. Back then, I really thought I hit the jackpot. He lived so comfortably in the USU family, with absolutely nothing to worry about, enjoying top-tier treatment, and feeling totally blessed. But the rise of the CU family changed everything. This time, her precious son was forced to apologize, and she actually held her tongue. I was 100% sure she was holding a massive grudge, and just bottling it up for now. People's minds are seriously impossible to read. I scraped the bottom of my bowl. I thought to myself, how did this congee disappear so fast? Xu Ruining put down her phone and scooped another bowl of millet congee for her husband. Ruining, where did you run off to just now? I was scooping a bowl of congee for Yu Chen, Mom. Go on. Xu Ruining genuinely missed her parents, but since a friend was visiting today, she'd just go back to see them tomorrow. On the other end of the line, Wang Yun, hearing her daughter personally scoop congee for me, felt a sudden surge of blind rage burning inside. Don't you guys have a nanny? He's a whole adult. Can't he even handle a simple task like scooping his own congee? Are his hands broken? Or something? In her family's eyes, I was already a gold digger leeching off them. Trash is just trash. And now he has the nerve to make my daughter serve him. Does he think he's literally an emperor? No wonder my daughter comes home so often. She's basically being tortured over there. They might as well just divorce. Our family is loaded anyway. Worst case, we'll just find another submissive guy. Ruining, once you're fully recovered, come back home. We have some things we need to discuss with you. By the time the mother-daughter call ended, I was pretty much done eating. Xu Ruining was mostly recovered anyway, and I still had fires to put out at the company. A luxury car was pulling up towards us. Everything from the hood ornament to the interior screamed high status. But all of it was just a backdrop for the elegant woman sitting inside. Liu Ruyan tried calling Xu Ruining, but the line was busy. However, Xu Ruining quickly texted her back. Liu Ruyan was low-key curious. What kind of guy could make the Ice Queen Xu Ruining so absolutely obsessed? Reading between the lines, her texts screamed it has to be him. Interesting. The car drove straight into the villa complex. Xu Ruining had already cleared it with security. After breakfast, I got ready to head to the office. In the short walk from the living room to the door, Xu Ruining clung onto my arm. She asked softly, "What do you want for lunch? I'll deliver it to you." Playing the perfect, doting wife to a T. Where did all her Ice Queen energy go? Just stay home and behave. If you catch a cold again, I'll be the one stuck taking care of you. I completely rejected her offer. Xu Ruining didn't care. In her mind, wasn't that just his way of showing he cared? As we talked, a black luxury car pulled up to the front gate. Xu Ruining had mentioned last night that a friend was visiting today. I didn't care. As far as I was concerned, Xu Ruining's friends were just strangers to me. But I absolutely never expected that this stranger would be the most familiar stranger in my life. The car door opened. An elegant, stunned figure stepped into view. Her flowing skirt swayed gently as Liu Ruyan got out. But the second she looked forward, time seemed to literally freeze. and then rewind. Countless precious memories. Like that grand fireworks show we last watched together, shot up into the sky, and then exploded in the most dazzling colors, making the dark night sky so beautiful. In the past, I had imagined a million ways I might reunite with Lu Rian. Sadly, it was all for nothing. I had completely given up. But fate literally dropped the person I waited so long for, right in front of me in the most random way possible. Before, we could be described by every beautiful word in the dictionary. But now, we just stared at each other like total strangers. Hubby, this is my really good friend, Liu Ruya. Ruyao. This is my husband, Gu Chen. Xu Ruoning introduced these two strangers to each other. For Liu Ruyan, the karma she'd been dodging for years finally caught up to her, and it hurt way more than she ever imagined. She had to abandon the person who had been by her side for years, and then one day, she sees him as someone else's husband, and his wife is personally introducing him to her. Liu Ruyan's heart was completely numb from the pain. The regret was eating her alive. I gave a chill nod. You guys catch up. I've got company business to handle. See ya. I took big strides toward the garage, brushing right past Liu Ruyan to grab my car. The engine roared. The red taillights flashed a few times, and then vanished from their sight. Xu Ruoning called out, Ruyan? Ruyan! Liu Ruyan finally snapped out of it. In Liu Ruyan's beautiful, drifting eyes, I saw way too many complex emotions. Some I understood, and some I completely didn't. It's always like this. When you lose touch with an old classmate for too long, they probably just forget you even exist. The hardest lies to spot are the ones mixed with a little bit of truth. Being classmates was true. Me forgetting her, also true. Whether it was me actively blocking out the past, or just naturally moving on, who knows? I felt a little empty inside. After all, we used to be so close. Xu Ruoning's intuition was screaming that something was off, but her husband had acted so chill, like he literally just met a stranger. 0 red flags. It perfectly matched Liu Ruyan's vibe. Meanwhile, I was low-key crying inside. My damn acting skills actually managed to fool Xu Ruoning. Are you feeling any better? The topic was smoothly shifted. The two absolutely stunning, aesthetic baddies walked into the living room one after the other, sitting elegantly on the couch. Liu Ruyan's mind was racing. She wanted to fish for tea about my life over the past few years from Xu Ruoning. That resort I recommended to you is seriously a vibe, but going alone is too boring. Once you're fully recovered, you and your hubby should go to spice things up. You said you wanted to win his heart back, but just now, you guys didn't look like you were fighting at all. Liu Ruyan picked up her teacup and took a small sip. She couldn't even taste if it was bitter or sweet. Her mind was completely somewhere else. Xu Ruoning sighed softly. He's just giving me a pass because I'm sick right now. He's not making a big deal out of it. Once I'm 100% recovered, that free pass is gone. What do you think I should do? Time was running out. Xu Ruoning was getting desperate, literally asking anyone for advice. Liu Ruyan put down her teacup and said, I can't help you if you just give me vague details. Can you spill the whole story? The tea in the cup rippled gently, listening to Xu Ruoning narrate her love story. Liu Ruyan's insides were churning. The story was like mental poison. It was supposed to be their story. But now, she was just a third wheel listening to her solo. She had become a totally irrelevant NPC. They say getting back what you lost is a huge blessing. But losing the love that was meant to be yours is probably the biggest tragedy in life. Liu Ruyan always knew I'd glow up into a successful guy, and that I'd do perfectly fine without her. Hearing how I went bankrupt to save Mother Xu, and then hearing Xu Ruoning regretfully admit how she constantly started drama just to wear the pants in the marriage, and even refused to have kids and forced separate bedroom. Liu Ruyan had incredibly mixed feelings. Besides a twisted sense of relief, she was absolutely furious. How could she bear to treat him like that? Back in the day, she could never bear to see him suffer even the slightest bit. Even taking a massive step back, paying back a life-saving debt, doesn't mean you have to be soulmates, but at least respect each other. Xu Ruoning totally deserved this karma. Just like her, she brought it on herself. Can't blame anyone else. At the same time, Liu Ruyan was beating herself up. She'd been running away all these years. If she knew he was having such a miserable time, she wouldn't have waited until today. My car slowed down. There was a red light ahead. My mind drifted. I completely derailed my life for two women, and neither resulted in a happy ending. One was Xu Ruining, for whom I dropped my startup dreams and wasted my years. The other was her, a name that felt so familiar yet so foreign. Liu Ruyan, my childhood sweetheart. We promised to go to the same university. But one day, the girl vanished from the boy's life. I was completely ghosted. After the final exams, my scores came out. I could have gone to a way better, top-tier university, but I stubbornly stayed at the agreed place, just waiting and waiting. The leaves on the trees turned green, then yellow, dropped, and grew back. Sometimes, when the truth slaps you in the face, it's not that you don't believe it. You just refuse to accept that she's never coming back. A 30-second red light wasn't nearly enough time to process all my memories with Liu Ruyan. Right after she ghosted me, she was in all my dreams. I'd even call out her name in my sleep. Later in college, my roommates who stayed up late would hear me mumbling. During the day, my bros would joke with me. Who is this Ruyan baddie? You're literally obsessed with her even in your sleep. But when they saw my dead serious expression, they realized they crossed a line. Some things just aren't meant to be used for laughs, especially the deepest, most painful trauma in your heart. Over a decade of childhood memories, and the sweet moments she left behind, made me choose this university, but I never saw her. I was such a simp. She didn't even drop a single text to explain or say goodbye. Yet, I was out here loyally keeping our promise like an idiot. Who even cared? Nobody cared. I was literally the biggest clown on earth. Later, I tried to move on and block out the past, but she'd still haunt my dreams. It was pure torture. So I started night running. If 3 wasn't enough, I'd run 5K. Basically, I had to physically exhaust myself just to sleep without dreaming. Gradually, she stopped showing up in my dreams. People say if two people are still meant to be, but are forced apart, they pay each other back through dreams. When the dreams stop, it means the connection is completely dead.